Hey, what's going on out there, YouTube family? This is Samuel Leggy here representing Team JVS. I'm back here again for another movie review. Now, this film, I saw the trailer for it and I was like, man, this could be really something great. The cast is just phenomenal in the sense of you got Naomie Harris, you got Glenn Close, you got Mahershala as the lead, playing two different versions of himself. You got Awkwafina in this. And just the premise of it really intrigued me. I was kind of like really drawn into whatever this was going to be. But even though the trailer looked so good, I didn't anticipate the movie being one of the best movies I've seen this year. And honestly, probably one of the better performances Mahershala has done. There's so much that's in this film that makes it such an amazing experience of a film. And it's kind of like, normally like films like this, you know, they kind of like are indie in the sense of how they're approached and how they go. But I'm gonna tell you, this is a 10 out of 10 for me. This is easily one of the best performances of the year for me. I think Naomie Harris does an amazing job as P or Poppy. And it's interesting because Mahershala is playing two different characters in Cameron and Jack, and I don't want to explain why if you haven't seen the trailer, but he is doing a lot with this. And I think the thing foundationally is that I had a conversation with my wife about the premise of the movie, and you know, she asked me, what would you do in that situation? And I think when I was watching the film, I was internalizing everything that was happening. You understanding that the character Cameron that Mahershala is playing is deathly ill, and he knows for a fact that he's got a son and he's got a wife, and he doesn't want to leave them behind with nothing, but has this opportunity here that possibly that he can continue to live on, but someone else is doing it for him that is technically himself. And it blurs the line of what is really happening here. Is this a completely different individual, or is this the same exact man just in a different silhouette of a body? It's like you taking your whole core consciousness and everything you are and putting it into something else so that you can continue to live on. Because that actually goes to a character in the show Invincible. It's on Amazon Prime, which is an animated series, really a high octane action, one of my favorite animated films this year. But there's a character in that, Brainy, that or robot, I'm sorry, not Brainy, that you find out that something similar is happening. And even in that moment where it's kind of like, okay, no, we're the same as that person, but no, like they're technically different, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, to understand the gravitas of where Mahershala's character Cameron, the original, is going to have to do, what he has to understand, what he has to accept. It's so visceral. It's so human, because the mortality of a human being is the thing that makes it so potent. It makes it so pure. And I think that the approach of this by the director, that was directed by Benjamin Cleary, is they show you very specific things about what makes up this person. And it's funny because this reminds me of another film that I saw earlier this year that also starred Leslie Odom Jr. and it was because I actually did like that film. It was a Needle in the Time Stack. That was what it was. And the thing about that one is kind of different, but it played with the idea of time versus like swapping. But it also played around like with an interesting idea when it comes to like technology, and this is a little bit further into technology. And some of the things I liked about that, this magnified, because the technology in this, it's just subtle things, whether it's like contact lenses, where it's like smart appliances that we're charging, like the whole premise of a wireless charging, and just taking that to another level, or the idea of social media and taking that to another level from a visual standpoint, or even FaceTime calling being magnified on a virtual level, or AR in a virtual level, or or even playing a video game that you can actually see tangibly happening in front of you. There's a moment where he has that with this kid, and like it's just right there, you know, and they're still interacting with each other, and it's mirrored what's happening. It's just so many different things that, from a technical standpoint, that the director was very cognizant of to make sure you understood of the snuff is the world in which it is right now, and the technological advancements of what's going on. But the thing about this that makes it so good and so human is they spend so many different scenes, so many different moments, that you really start to understand who Cameron is. And you understand who Poppy is. You understand who the son is. And I think that because they make it so personable, they make it so real and visceral, that all the weight of what's happening, as sad as it is, as rough as it is, it's still this level of hope. Because at the time I was watching this film, I was dealing with some emotional distress myself, to be quite honest with you. And I was watching it, and I was like, I'm starting to emote. I was like, I'm starting to feel, you know. And at the time when I get distressed, I just kind of like harden up, you know. And this movie softened me up so much. Even a character like Awkwafina was playing, I dare I say with her, I did not expect her to have a character that didn't have to be funny. Like, the character Kate is a character that is really sad on paper. It's really sad. And I think that she used the severity of the situation and it felt like the character was really, what's a good word? She was very vulnerable. She was very vulnerable, but at the same time, it was something that the character Cameron also very much so needed, because he was also very vulnerable, even though he can't really, you know, explain it, or you can't really grasp the levels of it. They're on the same kind of track, and it did work. All their scenes together actually brought moments of levity, and it wasn't overcooked. It was actually just enough. So she did a really good job. Naomie Harris's character, she plays so well in this, because her character is so loving, but yet has a lot of tragedy, and yet when you look at all the earlier scenes, like, she's just so full of life, and like, it's just so cute to see them organically get together. Like, so many different sequences where the chemistry is there with the cast. The chemistry is there even with the director, of understanding scene positioning. Because the hardest part about this that Mahershala does so well is he's acting off of himself. And he's also acting off of the premise, because the premise is technically, you know, is a perception situation, where the perception is, oh, well, is this so bad? But no, you have to really understand what's happening. And you have to really understand it from Cameron's perspective, from Jack's perspective, and even Glenn Close's character and what she's trying to do. Like, a lot of the time, you're kind of thinking the doctor is being evil. Like, you just don't really know what her real true intent is. But then they really do level out some certain things with exposition and scene selection and moments that I was like, they're allowing these characters and these actors to truly act off of what the characters are supposed to be doing, which is rare. It's either one, sometimes it's kind of like the actor just acts off and does what he has to do with whatever's on paper, do the best he can with what he has. And sometimes on paper it's perfect, but it's just not executed enough for you to be able to feel anything. This is a amalgam of the two. Like, you're feeling everything that's really happening. You're understanding that Cameron feels as though this is a lose-lose situation. And how can he tell his family, or how can he keep it a secret? And how can he live with it as much as how can he endure it? And they go and counterbalance that so much with even the character Jack, because Jack is on the other side of this, and it's kind of like, do you accept yourself and what you really are to this whole thing? Are you're a cog, or you the fixed point? And I think that ideal is just so fascinating with this film, that it's one of the best films I've seen this year. Like, I was astonished by it, and it's a rarity. Normally I go into, you know, the visuals. I mean, this is beautiful. This is cinematography is great. technological innovation and the set design is perfect. The soundtrack music selection is very on key. It's so really respectful. But then when there's actually a score, it's also very magnificent. And the moments of tension and feeling of impending doom or death it's just so well executed from the directing that it just magnifies the film in and of itself. I truly don't have any negatives with it. I mean there was maybe a few characters I kind of wanted to see unpacked a little bit more, but the reality of what the movie was about is all the same. And it's just funny because I can't help but compare Needle and the Time Stack to this, but where this just goes to a different level. And it's not just on an acting standpoint. Like it takes this whole idea of life and death, sacrifice, family, and what are you willing to do, and the concept behind that, and it takes it somewhere I never thought could really be taken. So all credit to this, 10 out of 10 for me. This is going to be premiering on December the 17th on Apple TV Plus. So if you're not a subscriber, highly recommend you do that. There's some amazing shows up there, some amazing films up there. I mean, Ted Lasso, you got Foundation, you got Now, what? I don't want to say too much. Invasion, but there's a lot of different shows. There's a lot of good movies. I mean, Coda. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Keep it live. JVS Wing will stop. Peace, guys.